why doesn't the California State Bar Association, the judicial system in general, and the Supreme Court not take an interest in this and start a serious investigation? Now, I realize I came forward much too late. But now let's look at this here. I was threatened never to come forward, or they're going to create trouble for me, and I didn't need that. And I was dealing with some government matters on my own and my bad health. Well, then when my health got bad enough that I was diagnosed with 2 diseases that are going to cut my life short, I decided, hey, I got to come forward now. I don't have any time left. Well, so what is their problem? When I first contacted the Bar Association, I asked them, how many witnesses do you need? So I came forward with 2 witnesses that I don't personally know, thinking that those 2 witnesses that I don't personally know would have the most impact because I don't know them, but they were witnesses that listened to the conversation when Mark Howitson called representing Mark Zuckerberg wanting a statement that Mark got the business plan idea from me first, and I talked to a fellow Harvard student on the second that I was trying to get as an investor. Well, and then one of those witnesses contacted me in an email stating that they were offered a large amount for to sign a non-disclosure, and he was sorry, but they were no longer going to help. And then 2 hours after that, I get a email from the State Bar Association that it's dismissed. Now, this don't look good. I mean, but the law's got the upper hand here, but there's something not right here. Now, as I stated before, how many witnesses do you need? Well, and maybe that's the problem. Witnesses aren't enough. Well, if a lawyer is going to use his position, his education, his knowledge, he's going to do that in a way to go around the law for he don't get caught. So he coached Mark what to do in a way to steal a business plan. That's intellectual property theft. While entering into a business agreement to get it, and I was under the impression that this business agreement is going to be put into writing afterwards, and then I sign it. Well, okay, so it's intellectual property theft. It's fraud. They hid the fact of what happened. You never heard of me during the Facebook history because they started their history past me. And instead, they made it look like Mark created the idea and the twins were stealing it from him, or he was stealing it from the twins. Well, then when Howitson called wanting, me to give a statement, I was threatened. Well, there's 3 reasons right there why to disbar. Right there, there's 3 reasons. Now, not only is there 3 reasons to disbar him, there's several reasons right there to go after Mark Zuckerberg. Now, that went to the Supreme Court. So that means that during the Supreme Court, they held the true facts away from the court. They didn't let the court know the true facts. So when they were under oath, their opinion was, well, as long as we don't tell them, they're not going to know. The California Bar Association, the Supreme Bar, the Supreme Court, needs to really take a serious look at this. You have a chance of correcting a wrong. The last I've ever known is if somebody lies to the Supreme Court. I mean, this is a huge thing. I know, in the lower court, if you lie to the judge, this is a severe thing. So you need to look into the facts. You need to do an investigation and figure out what you're going to do with this. At the very least, that lawyer needs to be disbarred permanently and probably face some very serious charges. Now, all I keep hearing is excuses. I found witnesses, lots of witnesses, but I used two. Two of them that I didn't know, thinking that, two witnesses that I don't know is probably better than witnesses that I do know. So, I hear excuses. So here we go. How many witnesses do you need? Well, so if we go with when Mark was first here, you have me, my mom, a member of a close friend of the family. You have a friend visiting from out of state. Another relative was here, and there was construction going on and people taking pictures. So, I mean, if this became big news, and you wanted to look at the, that's when Mark was here. I mean, we could be, 20-some witnesses. Okay, now let's say when the lawyer called. Okay, I chose those two. Well, those two weren't the only ones. So now I don't have those witnesses no more, and all of a sudden you act like, well, you ain't got no case because you ain't got no proof. Well, no, wait a minute now. The phone call here was made, okay, the phone call came in from the lawyer asking for the statement from me to help them win the battle over Facebook, the ownership. Now, my mom answered the phone. She told me to get it out there at the barn. She listened into that phone call. I mean, you got a lawyer calling her son. I mean, she didn't know if somebody was in trouble or what. There's a witness right there. There was somebody else sitting at the table. So, she's relaying everything to the friend of the family. So right there, that is me, her, the friend of the family, the two witnesses. That's 5. Now, then I hear, well, you got any more evidence? Because, that's hearsay. That's witnesses, Now, I said that the business plan was written out on a notebook. The notebook was in the portfolio, and Mark took the portfolio that had the notebook in it. The lawyer used his position to coach Mark on what to do. And a prime example of this is this. After Mark got me to do this video business agreement, and the question is, why did he have me do this video business agreement if he really wasn't planning on going along with it? I think it might have been to try to trip me up, to try to get me to say that I would pass on intellectual ownership, because he kept on asking over and over, and I refused to. And I outright said, no, I'm not going to do that, because that would make it look like my work is your work, and I'm not going to do that. I said, you use the plan, this is our agreement, and then I get my percentage. But then after the agreement, I asked him if he wanted to give me a copy, and I asked him, I said, did you just rob me? And he says, well, I told you I was a player, I asked you if you could trust me. And then he says, well, I don't want any video or any recordings done of me. Well, now see, that was probably the lawyer telling him, make sure you don't get no video or any recordings, any kind of proof that you were there. That's why he stole the camera. So, the Bar Association, you're asking me, well, do you have any more proof? The lawyer coached Mark to make sure that any proof that Mark could find he would take with him, so there was no proof. That brings us back to the witnesses. We have witnesses. Why are we having a problem? Now, I told you about Mark being here, enough descriptive things that you can investigate that. Otherwise, how would I know that stuff? Why isn't the court system, the judicial system, the Bar Association looking into this and taking this seriously? This makes absolutely no sense. All I'm hearing is excuses. So I even heard somebody say, well, something about a hard drive. Hey, give you my hard drive from 2003. I'd like to have it back, but I'll let you use it. You know what? Mark was the first person to install the crack software on it. You need to look into this. Intellectual property theft. Now, sure, it was Mark that was at my house and took that, coached by Mark Howitson. Both of them hid what happened. That's fraud. They used coercion, warning me never to come forward or they're going to cause me trouble. That's threats. Now, at any time, that lawyer could have come forward and say, hey, this got out of control. I got to come forward. And you know what? That would have been the right thing to do. But instead, they hid what happened. And not only did they hide what happened, they made a point of telling everybody on national TV about the history of Facebook and leaving the actual history of where the business plan was stolen out. Instead, they made it look like something else happened. You're looking at one of the biggest cases, I do believe, of crime created by an attorney and his client. And they're still benefiting from it. Do your job.